Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have some things to get into for this next upcoming matchup and some updates to do. So let's just jump straight into the video. Starting off, we are talking about trick plays. A lot of people thought they were going to be gone with Ben Johnson leaving, but John Morant has proved that he's got some tricks up his sleeve as well. A lot of people also like to say, and this is especially what I hear a bunch as a Lions fan, is that if your team can't win games doing it the normal way, then your team's not really that good. If you have to win with trick plays, then your basic fundamentals aren't good enough to win games. I disagree. I say trick plays are a part of football. It adds a creative element, a surprising element to the game, right? Defenses can cover trick plays, right? They're not a broken do-all play or everyone would run it, right? It takes concentration. It takes not jumping on the run fake, right? Because then it allows the guy to go over top the safety. I think that it is a good part of football, and if you are mad and complaining that it's no skill, then obviously it's been done to your team a couple times, and it is a momentum shutdown. That is the big thing about it. It kills the other team when you get scored on off a 60-yard flea flick or something like that. It happened with the Cowboys last year when we played them. And Detroit showed that we weren't done with trick plays despite Ben Johnson being gone. The team utilized their key players such as St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs in unique ways during trick plays as gadgets, right? These plays often create the critical momentum shifts we talked about, as demonstrated by the pitch play that gave them the lead in the game against the Ravens, right? A double pass from Montgomery to Goff was used against the Ravens on Monday night. It was handoff to Montgomery. Montgomery then passed it back to Jared Goff, and Jared Goff was able to do a pass to Montgomery for a first, or not to St. Brown for a first down. Also had a play where St. Brown was in the back. It was the lead back, took the ball, and then was able to actually pitch it back to Gibbs, who was lined up outside or lined up next to St. Brown, and they used that to score a rushing touchdown on fourth down. So really good use of these kind of gadget plays, these really creative plays. And Johnson is continuing to use trick plays in Chicago as well. It's not like he couldn't do it outside of Detroit. He scored on a flea flicker play to rookie receiver Luther Burden III against the Cowboys. It was a pretty sweet flea flicker. I'll give him that. It looked almost botched for a second, but they were able to get it done. Obviously, the plays work better when you have better players. Not to say that the Bears don't have good players, but Detroit was kind of just practiced and practiced and practiced. So now plays like this kind of just happen, right? We're now just doing these little gadget plays, these little fakes, stuff to just shake up the game. And maybe they're not as big and flashy as the ones Ben Johnson were pulling out are, but they're still effective. And if they're getting us first downs, I'll take them any day. I truly think that trick plays are a fun part of football. Even if they happen to your own team, it's like, oh, that sucks, but that was a cool play, right? When quarterbacks get touchdown receptions, when running backs are throwing balls, flea flickers. I mean, it's fun. And if you really do hate trick plays, then I guess you hate creative football. But that's just my opinion on that. Let me know what you guys think. I'm excited to see where we'll go with the rest of the season using these trick plays. I'm excited to see what else John Morton has up his sleeve. We are now talking about Hutch. Hutch, how's he been doing in his first 3 games after he came back from that huge injury last season? Well, there's been a lot of hype about him, especially in the training camps, the Hutch rule, all that stuff. So how has it actually translated into the regular season? Well, Hutchinson has been so impactful in the 2025 season so far, returning from 2024 season leg injury that he's been playing on an elite level, according to a lot of analysts. In week 2 against the Bears, he recorded his first sack of the season. And in week 3 against the Ravens, he forced a key fumble and added another sack, demonstrating a return to high impact play before the injury. Hutch is healthy, feeling 100%. It's been really allowing him to just fly around the field and make multiple plays, not even just sacks, but just being able to do other stuff that makes game-changing moments for the Lions in game, right? Let's talk about that forced fumble on Derrick Henry. We didn't really mention it last video on the game review, and that was my bad, but this was a huge part of the game, and I did want to cover it. So it was a giant momentum shift. It was a pretty close game going back and forth between the Lions and the Ravens scoring, but this one right here where Henry bounces out, Hutch kind of gets behind him and knocks the ball out. It ended up sealing the game for us. Overall, that was just a huge momentum killer. It made Derrick Henry very upset too. We saw him slamming his helmet on the bench. As he walked off field, he was very, very frustrated. It just seemed like our defense was clicking on all cylinders in that moment, and especially Hutch was just going crazy. Not too long after that, he was also able to go get a sack on Lamar Jackson, just shrugging off the right tackle, or the left tackle, rather. Absolutely great stuff from him. I think he's just getting revving up right now. He's revving up back to that 5 sack game he had last season, right? And he was on the Defensive Player of the Year pace before that injury in 2024. So really, that's what he's trying to work back up to, and I think that is his ultimate goal this season. At the Ravens, he had a forced fumble, a sack, and while his numbers haven't been defensive MVP stats yet, I still think he's making an impact everywhere on the field when he's out there. His ability to take double teams and still apply pressure lets the other guys on that line get those one-on-one matchups, and what we saw then, it's then letting guys like Al-Qadim Muhammad get set 2.5 sacks a game. He's a force that coordinators have to plan for when making a game plan, and that in turn makes him a huge part of our defense and just a huge part of our game plan in general. Having him out there is like just an entire threat by himself. It's him and then the rest of the D line they have to prepare for. And I think that's what gives us such an edge, having a player like that. Really happy he's with us. Really happy it looks like he's getting back into his old form. We're just going to have to wait and see if he keeps getting back to that original high motor 5 sack a game form. And I'm sure there's a game coming up, the Browns, where he could absolutely get the opportunity to get into a lot of sacks on a quarterback who's not very mobile in Joe Flacco. So let me know what you guys think about that. What have you expected from him so far? Has he been meeting your expectations? Let me know in the comments right now down below. We will now be moving on to our third topic, just looking into that matchup versus the Browns, just looking at some stuff. We will obviously go over this more as the week goes, but let's start with just talking a little bit about the two teams and where they stand right now. So we're hosting the Browns next Sunday, and the FanDuel Sportsbook is projecting Detroit to be the heavy favorite, setting the opening betting lines at Lions minus 8.5 points. The Browns, who are 1-2, had a rough start in the beginning of the 2025 season, losing a tight game to the Bengals 17-16 in Week 1, and then getting smashed by the Ravens 41-17 in Week 2. But Week 3 did bring some happiness to the Browns fans, as they had a crazy fourth quarter win against the Packers, and which included 13 unanswered points, a late game interception, a blocked field goal, and a game-sealing walk-off 55-yard field goal to win 13-10. It was an absolutely insane game. You should go look at the highlights from the fourth quarter. Definitely entertaining, definitely good stuff, good football to watch. But defense has been the name of the game for the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett has been sensational so far. He got a bag. I hope he would be. Currently leads the NFL with 4 sacks and should be in the early defensive player of the year conversation right now. But the Browns have been getting contributions from all over the field. One they haven't been really getting contributions in has been offense, and I'll talk about that in a second. But here's what they've looked like on holding offenses over their first 3 games. So passing defense held opposing quarterbacks to Joe Burrow in Week 1, 14 for 23 on 113 passing yards, a touchdown, and a passer rating of 87.8. In Week 2 was Lamar Jackson, who had his way with them, obviously. 19 for 29, 225 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 128.6. But that was the highest one. In Week 3, Jordan Love had 18 for 25, only 183 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and a passer rating of 89.2. So honestly, they've been good. They've been solid against the pass. Not fantastic, but solid. The running defense is where they've been great. In Week 1, Chase Brown only had 46 rushing yards. In Week 2, Derrick Henry only had 45 rushing yards. Derrick Henry had 23. Chase Brown had 43. They had a total of 46 and 45. And in Week 3, there was 81 total rushing yards, but Josh Jacob only had 30 of them. The Browns are just one of 2 teams in the Super Bowl era to hold offenses to under 400 total yards through 2 games and still start the season with 0-2. So why? Well, let's go back to what we were talking about before those stats. It's the offense. It's the way they can't really move the ball down the field that well. It starts with quarterback Joe Flacco. As much as I love Flacco, the Flacco fever, he really hasn't been good, and he's been simply just underwhelming so far this season. Through 3 games, Flacco is averaging 42 passing attempts, but only completing 26 for 210 yards passing, and has just 2 touchdowns compared to 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a fumble loss. Honestly, because of this reason, I just can't see us losing to a team like that. If we were able to go and keep Lamar Jackson under control with 7 total sacks throughout the whole game, I'm not sure the Browns are going to get a much better result, especially because they have a guy who can't shift out of the pocket, who can't escape pressure as quick as Lamar can. And to me, that just shows that the offense is going to be off the field a lot of the times, and their defense, which is fantastic, is going to be on for so long. Dude, I mean, they're going to get tired, right? I can only see them being out for so long until they're exhausted playing against a high caliber offense like ours. You know, the passing game could get out of hand very quickly if those corners start to get tired. And I can see them stopping our running game for a good chunk of this game. I could see it. The Ravens did a pretty good job at stopping Gibbs for the first half, but what kind of happened with the Ravens, same thing I think is going to happen with the Browns. Defense is out there stopping the run the whole game. You're going to get tired. And especially with our offense, we tend to mix things up with play action. It just tells me we're going to be able to get really good chunk yardage out of those fake runs, right? It's just going to allow the secondary to open up, especially with JMO. And if we're able to get them tired by having them on the field for most of the first half, that second half is just going to be a brutal job. We're just going to have to see. Obviously, I'm not going to get my hopes too high up and say, oh, it's a done deal. But it obviously, from a statistics standpoint, looks like the Lions have this game. Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss any important statistics, or did I basically cover the main things here? Let's go into our fourth and final topic, just talking about Kelvin Sheppard. I think Kelvin Sheppard deserves a little segment here after the first 3 games we've seen from him so far. And I think there was some worry about how he was going to perform. But he's been effective so far for the Lions, particularly in the first year as his defensive coordinator job, fostering a strong defensive culture built on philosophy of trust, honesty, and accountability. He guided the team into significant defensive improvements in the 2025 season, notably in third down and fourth down efficiency. Not standing tall for 3 plays and then all of a sudden just letting them get a fresh new set of them. He guided the team to significant defensive improvements under Sheppard's guidance. The Lions defense has improved significantly, ranking first in the NFL in third down efficiency and 7th in points allowed per game, and oversaw the development of key players like Jack Campbell. Sheppard's background as a former NFL linebacker and his experience coaching within the Lions staff in 2021 also just contribute to his effectiveness in this new role. He's been here. We hired from within. He's comfortable. He knows our players' strengths and weaknesses. It allows him to better develop these guys like Jack Campbell who have these high ceilings. I really think he's in a good position here, and I really like that we hired from inside like that. And he's been efficient. If we're first in the NFL in this third down efficiency, it just makes us a really scary defense. If we're going to get something going on second down and force a third down, then you know that we're going to be going hard. The motors are going to be running high, right? And a lot of teams, like to punt on third down. So it just gives us the benefit, right? If we're not going to punt on third down and we are forcing those punts, we are just getting more time with the ball, more time on the field, and more opportunities to score. So I like what he's been doing so far. And despite being his first year as the defensive coordinator, he's expressed that he's not overwhelmed. He's crediting his coaching staff for their participation and their preparation in games. And his philosophy says that, he emphasizes this aggressive play. So he's aiming to create turnovers and negative plays. Obviously, that's what every defensive coordinator does. But the number of third down stops for the Lions this season can be understood by their opponent's third down conversion rate, which we have just simply been the lowest in the NFL with 32.4%. While the exact number of stops isn't provided as a simple count, the low percentage indicates that the Lions defense has been very aggressive and has been getting at it. We've been running a lot more blitz packages with man coverage. I think it's been working a lot better. And I think he really understands what our defense's biggest strengths are, and he's just using them to our advantage. I really like what he does. His 8 seasons in the NFL as a linebacker provides him with a diverse perspective from being a starter to a role player, which he leverages in his coaching. I think he's really good. I think we've seen great things from him, and I think we're going to continue to see great things from him. Keep it up, Kelvin Sheppard. You have been an awesome defensive coordinator so far, and you've shown that even against these high caliber teams, you don't back down. Really great stuff. Let me know what you guys think about his play. What stands out the most for his calls defensively in your guys' opinion? With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me what you think the biggest takeaways are from this last week with Hutch and with Kelvin Sheppard, and tell me what you're expecting for this next upcoming week against the Browns. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, smash the bell so you never miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.